Moo and good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, and welcome to the Pink Tron. I'm Sean Fogenberg, and with me this week we've got Steph Etienne. Steph, what are you drinking?
It's late at night. I'm having a Sprite and having a bit of a cold. Somehow, Sean's germs got through the internet to me, and maybe a plot to get me out of the Climbers Gambit competition after I nearly beat him last series.
You
So
got
who
you
knows?
got my computer virus. Also, we've got John Keenan. John, what are you drinking?
Yeah, midday here. So I've got a coffee, but I had to supplement it in the interest of science. So I put in a scoop of the Ohm Mushroom Master Blend, 10 mushroom species and other adaptogens. And I learned a new word today, primordia.
Oh,
This has organic, I'll butcher this, Himamatsutake. I assume that's a mushroom. Agricola blazei, mycelia biomass, and primordia, which it's a little concerning. I'm drinking primordia, but it's science, man.
is it better than last week's mushroom
Yeah,
coffee?
It
what was
is,
about that?
yeah. Yeah. I always drink my coffee with a little cream in it, which I did last week too, but this seems to, it's hiding under there. Don't even notice it. So
Okay.
And
double plus for me.
also, we've got Craig Martin, and I think Craig might be of the three so far, the only one with a beer.
I am. So I have a double vision, double IPA from Brasseur de Petit Saut. So
From what now?
Who is on that can,
Brasseur
Craig?
du Petit Saut.
Oh, Brasil.
Brasseur.
It,
That would be
is
Ah,
this a,
Paul Carmel Laporte.
are
you,
these famous Canadians of some flavor?
Not really. So it's a famous guy from Edmundston, New Brunswick, as far as
Hmm.
people from Edmundston, New Brunswick go.
He's on the
he's,
Wikipedia, probably. Yeah.
I'm not sure he is. He's on the can.
Yeah.
and you sent us pictures of two beers. Are you going to be drinking that other one as well?
Plan is. So the other one is a Tickle Fight IPA from Half Cut Brewing Company.
Love it.
Hoppy, loud, and fun.
And I've got, well, I started with the idea that I wasn't going to have anything alcoholic to drink. So I made myself a from scratch limeade with agave nectar. Really, really tasty. But then I thought, I'm hanging out with my friends. I might as well have a beer. So I've got, I think I've had this a few times, the Modelo Chelada, but it's the Piña Picante one. So, like a little bit of an alcoholic pineapple juice. So always
And it's
fun.
picante. It's got some spice to it.
It's got a little bit, it's like pineapple and chili pepper. Yeah. Got a little
Nice.
like chipotle kind of kick. All right, so let's get to HSRL for the week before we get into the rest of it. So this week, before we get into it, it looks like we've got the counselor joining us. Um, let's see if we get, counselor joining us from the car.
Always, isn't that everybody's favorite?
Yeah. And so Brent, what are you drinking?
Uh, Cranberry ginger ale
All
soda.
right.
Nice.
And speaking of only being good at something for 30 seconds, this week is HSRL has Richard Roller Coaster with 30-second climbs in it.
All right, so HSRL this week, we are on Richmond roller coaster. So
I'm
you
not.
come out of the Richmond Pens, head downhill immediately. So you turn down and do 23rd Street reverse, then Libby reverse, do the bit by the river, come back up, and then you do um, is it laps of the top?
Yeah,
Uh,
Five
I, I,
laps.
I think
That doesn't sound right.
isn't a reverse version of fan flats or something like that?
Yeah, but I think you come up and then once you hit the fan flats part, the race organizer can determine how many laps. I think Maryline has set this
Okay.
for 5 laps
Yeah,
of the fan flat
but-
section.
Got it.
but because from the start pens to the Monument Avenue banner, that's basically the lead-in. So basically the flat circuit is the actual lap
Route.
or route.
Yeah.
So there are conflicting pieces of information on the post for it. It says essentially 24K at the beginning, but then the finish is listed at 32K. So it's either 24 or 32K. I'm leaning toward it's being probably that 32K. Actually, I think
think it's
because-
32. So the lead in is 12 kilometers.
yes,
Yeah.
it's
then
32K.
And then each lap is 5.
Yeah, times four, that's 20, that's
Yep.
32, yeah.
Yep. So 32K with all of the elevation essentially happening at the beginning. You've got some false flats on the that fan flats part, but the points are you're getting it's 50 points on Libby Hill or on 23rd, 150 on Libby, and then 50 for each of the sprints. Broad Street, Monument Ave 4 times, and then 150 at the finish. So there is, I guess, this is kind of like that, bonus. You've got that bonus climb or the featured climb that is more points on Libby.
Yeah.
And
that's-
that Libby
yeah,
is
And Libby
FT.
is FTS. Everything
Yeah.
else is FAL.
Yeah, so you're going to have a lot of everybody's going to have a lot of momentum coming down 23rd Street. And then hitting Libby hard.
Yeah, so that's actually an interesting one to how you pace the thing, because going down that without a group, you lose a lot of momentum heading into the beginning of the Libby climb, relative to flying down that hill with a bunch.
Yeah. Seems like it also gives you a couple of options for bike choice. I mean, I think it's got to be slipperiest bike
Yeah.
generally, but
You could go, you could go as light as Tron.
yeah, if you really I always think of it as bike choice for people who might win the race and bike choice for me, who's not going to win the race,
Well,
right? Like
for the general
Mine's gonna-
public.
the general public, like, all right, what's going to help me to hang on to the group as long as I can here? I think feels like it's going to get separated out. Like you're going to do the stretch out right at the beginning of the race. And then it's just going to be a matter of like, who can you catch on to for the fan flat section or fall back to?
Yeah, because I don't know if people might wanna, you have the two hills as points, but you have that bigger hill up until the flats with broad seats not far after that. So if people maybe wanna push it to get to that FAL first and create separation there, but
Yeah, I think I would probably be on the that new Pinarello
The
Dogma
Pinarello.
F,
Yeah.
with discs. I think is where I would be going. But yeah, I think there's arguments to be made for anything as light as the Tron. But there's a lot of points for sprints on this. So,
yeah.
and
Still-
even those two climbs, they have steep bits, but they're not
Well,
on average that steep.
yeah. So basically, you got to go up 23rd as fast as you can to get in the best group you can. And then you're carrying so much speed from going down 23rd that like being on the fastest bike helps you going up the other one
Yeah.
because of your entry
Yeah.
speed, because it's a super short climb.
You do go, you go through like a 20% corner, but
But you're
you're
flying.
sprinting through that at,
Yeah.
you hit it at 60K probably.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
And
yeah.
I think that's it. Like that's got to be your plan.
Yeah.
You know, don't try to win by a bunch on 23rd Street, or maybe deliberately not be first in order to have draft down that hill
Be
and
in a
then
good
pound
group.
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely, especially since there's so much more to be gained from
Yeah.
Libby than there is from 23rd
Yeah.
for
it's-
every place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
And then it's just try
yeah.
to climb the main street
with
as
the
fast
bunch.
as you can. Yeah.
Yeah.
Try not to get dropped.
Yeah.
Cool. I think that's HSRL for the week. So we're gonna keep with our kind of new format, and let's move on to some of the news for the week. So anybody got any of the pieces of news they want to bring up?
Bullseye is
Yeah, I
back.
think.
Bullseye is
Yeah.
back.
Yeah.
All right, Craig, you want to give us some info on the glorious return of Bullseye?
So I think at least to start, we're going to go back to the Bullseye roots. It's going to be laps, points at the lap banner, not at intermediate sprint banners, and 50 points per 100 points at the finish. So pretty simple, and we'll just restrict it to good lap courses. So we're doing Seaside Sprint 3 laps this week.
Great.
I'm
I'm
excited
looking
for that
forward-
for Bullseye.
I'm looking
It's been a-
forward to the Castle Grid one.
Yeah. It's been a long time since we had Bullseye. Like, there's new routes, right? Like Glasgow Crit is new, Castle Crit is new.
Yeah.
Like there's lots of new, like those, you could do
Yeah.
something on that bottom half of the grade with one direction or the other with Mayan and Eats a Climb that's new. Like there's stuff that you can do on Bullseye now that we couldn't do last time we had this format.
Yay.
And as a reminder, Bullseye is the Wednesday event, so get your midweek race in.
Yeah.
Very good if you are your week off on ZRL.
All right.
Well, I think the new heads-up display is still pretty new to folks. I know
Yeah.
my wife rode for the first time in several months, and she's like, "What is this all about?" I enjoy it. I've heard other folks want to be able to get rid of the incline pop-up, but I find that extremely useful. So seems like there's a lot of a lot of people with a lot of opinions.
I like it. I mean, it's very similar to the climb function that's on a lot of good head units these days. So
Yeah.
I like it. It's not super intrusive. It's not, something coming out of nowhere. It's something that bike computers are doing. So it just makes sense.
Yeah, the only complaint that I read, and I can see it, thing is that it's, for some people it takes too much of their screen, and I can see it because I was doing a workout. You have the basic stats, and you have your workout bar, and then you have the climbing portal, so it cuts your screen in a bit.
Yeah,
But
I think
they were complaining about.
I could see it being a problem during a race if you're a bit far back in a group, and then that pops up and you can't actually see whether people are tacking
Yeah.
up ahead of you.
Yeah, that was one of the complaints. People were suggesting that they might not see somebody attacking because of it's popping up and it's blocking their screen. But
I mean, they also
Yeah, but
sort of compensated by making some of the HUD actually semi-transparent. So like you can sort of see things behind like the rider list and the But it did make me question, like, well, why do I have a map here and on my companion app? Like, could I get rid of that and save that space? And like, which gets to the whole, like, individual user configurability of the UI. But I do like the climb piece. I think that's a great addition.
Yeah, like I said it last week, I find it's useful, and I didn't think it would be this. Basically, when you go up, it shows up even the smallest inclines. Marialan said the only thing she noticed, and I noticed it as well, if you do a certain climb on a certain route, it predicts 800 meters before, but it can be that you turn off the real climb and you don't have what you see in front of you 800 meters. You might only do 400 meters of actual climbing on your route. But I think I've seen it also happen on what Craig mentioned on your head units. Have the Climb Pro feature that you're on a climb that they calculated, but you're gonna be turn halfway of that climbing section. You still have it up, and even with the Climbing Pro function, it also detects, for instance, when you're at the bottom of a climb, even though you're not going to do the climb, it still detects it as in the radius, and it pops up as a potential climb. So yeah, it's not.
So I would imagine that this is going to be fixed, so this was part of the new heads-up display that they had mentioned, that they were going to have the route profile up on the top actually follow, this is the mapped route that you're on. I assume that once, and they have said that is still coming, they just have a few more bugs to work out. I assume that once they get that all worked out, that the climb profile will also follow the same profile that they've been using up on top. And I think that's probably what's going on now, is that they're just using whatever the profile that they have for you coming up, so that they're the same issues with, like, what's your route look like, are the same issues that they've had for a while.
So then it will effectively just be that 800 meters of what is really going to be your route, and then the mini map's going to have the full. You're not really doing Ven top. You're actually just going up to the Petit KOM reverse, and then you're going to go back down, and it'll show that.
Yeah.
This will actually show up in ZRL this week, it sounds like, because when you are doing the Epic KOM, you start going up Epic KOM, and then you take the bypass. It will probably look like it thinks you're going to keep going up Epic KOM on that climb profile, and then you will turn off and it will disappear.
Oh, so you're not saying you don't think it'll be fixed by ZRL?
No.
Okay.
It will actually, like, that issue will show
It'll
up
give
during
you
that race. Yeah.
So use that to your advantage, ZRL racers.
Yeah. So one of the things that I did want to talk about, this is news, I think, for a lot of us, and I asked Craig not to look into this piece of news, but this series of ZRL, they've announced a set of scoring changes for points races, and we've had the discussions on here a few times about, in particular, Craig's annoyances with how they have had the points set up in ZRL races, where most of the points were for those FTS segments. It looks like it's going to end up looking a lot more like what we just talked about for HSRL this week. So there will be changes to FAL, FTS, and finishing points for this year, or at least for this series. First, the finish points are now based on how many riders finish. So if 60 riders finish, first place gets 60 points, second 59, etc. But there are also going to be podium bonuses. So the top 5 riders get an extra 10, 8, 6, 4, 2. So if you win and there's a race of 60, you get 70. The second place would get 67, etc. So the differences for first, second, third, etc. are not as big, but the differences further down, like it's not like a whole bunch of people will get 1 point or 2 points. Now it's, the difference between 30th and 50th will be 20 points, which I think that's big for making it so that everyone's points actually count.
Yeah, I was about to say, even if you're fighting for, I don't know, you're at the back for 50th to 53 in a group, it's still 3 points difference, while in the past it was you all get 5 points, so you weren't emphasized to sprint or do anything, because why even bother?
Yep.
Yeah, so I know WTRL's intent with the old scoring was that, there's no difference in points, so a group won't just sit there not working, and they'll work together to catch the guy that means 1 more point, or another point or whatever. But that just didn't happen.
No.
So yeah, I think this is better because it'll at least mean people are attacking each other, lower down in the field. And really, when you look at it, if you beat 3 guys in your sprint to the finish, it means the same whether you're finishing 7th or 60th. So yeah, I think that is a nice improvement.
Additionally, the relative balance of FTS and FAL points has changed significantly. So it used to be the top 10 FAL get points and the top 10 FTS get points, but FTS was weighted more strongly. Now, the top 20 riders get FAL points. So 20 down to 1 for every FAL point. And FTS points only go to the fastest 5 riders, with those points going 10, 8, 6, 4, 2.
Yeah.
So
I would still like
huge difference.
Yeah, I would still like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, only counting every lap, better than this. But I think this is a move in the right direction.
So in terms of what the total points available look like, it's actually
dependent on each category, because like you said, the finish line points depends how big your division is. If you're 15 strong or 100 strong. Okay.
Yeah. But in general, what this means is that the finish points actually count a lot more than they did previously. And that FAL points count a lot more than they did previously, with a big de-emphasis on FTS points, which I think is going to change how these races get raced.
Yeah.
This week's race is going to be on a route that has 4 sprints in the first 15K. And then the second half of the race is like there's a little climb and then a descent to the finish. It will be interesting to see how the changes in points distribution actually change the motivations for riders.
You said there's 4 sprints, but are they only counting? It looks like they're only counting 2 of them, or am I misunderstanding that?
No, so the first sprint is an FAL sprint. I mean, as far as I can, from what I'm reading, first sprint is an FAL sprint, second sprint is an FTS sprint, third and fourth are FAL sprints.
Okay, that was different than something I saw.
I'm basing this off of the Zwift Insider
Okay,
post for the week.
okay.
It's very
Um,
difficult to tell anything from the WTRL page. So
Yes, agreed.
But yeah, Craig, what do you think?
yeah, actually I think I like it. Yeah, I mean there's still some things I'm not a huge fan of in the rule set, but no, that's interesting. So the emphasis on finish points and the de-emphasis on FTS, should stop some of the, blatant, I'm just going to stop here for 10
silliness.
minutes
Yeah.
and then sprint for, and, some of those guys are huge watt monsters who with, a tiny bit of attempt at conditioning for sustained effort would be beasts 1 or even 2 categories up.
Yeah.
Thinking of someone nicknamed the Orc of Sauron in D category. But yeah, that's it's really, I think it's good to change some behavior. I mean, I love the FTS, the way we do it in HSRL, and that's the game we play in that. And, we've all seen some teams do some pretty wacky stuff in HSRL, and that's fine. That's the game we've played. But this one, I think they want something that looks a little bit more like a real bike race.
Yeah.
And yeah, this should make it a little more like that.
Yeah, I mean, it looks the points look more like a points race that you might expect, where where you finish counts a lot, and like the points throughout matter. But the FTS looks more like a preem than it does for it used to be the game in a lot of ways. Like if you were the fastest sprinter through the segment, you were also going to get a lot of FAL points, and you'd have 1 or 2 riders pulling up most of those bonus points. And I don't know that that's going to be the case anymore, given that they're going 20 deep on the FAL points.
Yeah, I think it's also a good step in a good direction, because I've seen that in ZRL races that you have people finishing 10 minutes behind, but smashing some of the sprints and get their team lots of points while they're just doing, I don't know, 5 times 30 seconds effort for the whole race, and that's their race, and they get a lot of points for their team. It's more fair, I think, this way, or more in a step in a good direction for.
So is it somehow also advancing this idea that teams will work together more? I guess that's what we've talked about that a bit in the past, where I feel like a lot of Zwift racing, even if you're on a team, is really just Zwift racing, and then the team scores are aggregated and you kind of look where you are compared to other people. So I make up my own criteria of what my goal is for a particular race. But
so I think I'd say it's very situational. I mean, really, when the big splits happen, you end up in the group you end up with.
Mm-hmm.
And if you end up with a teammate, then you can play some games. And if you don't, you're hanging on and just trying to, just look for an opportunity.
Right.
I can think of a bunch of times where, when I was more towards the front of a category, I'd end up in a league group with one teammate. And in most of those, I was the guy, supporting the guy, the other guy, not trying to win myself. And yeah, it's, in one, there was one guy who had who was a big TT guy, big TT kind of guy, the biggest watts per kilogram in our division. and he kept attacking us, and I kept covering every attack. So, that definitely ate into what I had left at the finish. But, it was Orjan was, Orjan was there, and he just stayed on the wheel, and, he won the race, as, we kind of expected. As long as we could get him, as long as the other guy didn't break away from long distance. So, and then another one, it was on one of the New York ones that finished at the top of the Glass Road KOM, and we went up the Glass Roads way at the far end, and then you've got all those hills, and two of us ended up in the front group out of that. It was Chris. Shoot, I can't remember. Anyway, it was in the North American early morning, the Australian evening, and I was talking to Chris on Discord, and I said, "Hey, do you want me to make it hard for these guys?" And I did. And I knew that finish is not a good finish for me, and I think I helped him out a little bit, because I made other guys cover me keeping attacking.
So I've thought a decent amount about the, like, how do you get teamwork to really matter in Zwift races? And I don't think that it's ever going to be, the kind of teamwork that you see in, like, outdoor races.
Sure.
In ZRL in particular, because we do want everyone to matter.
Yeah.
Like, we want everyone's points to matter. And outdoor, like, the team's goal is to get one of their riders to win the race.
Or the intermediate sprint, or the something. Yeah.
Like, you're usually working for one or two of your riders to be up there as high as possible, and that doesn't end up being it's fun in that context, but it's less fun in terms of, like, okay, we go out and roll, do ZRL, and it would be really fun, I think, but to be the guy that's like, oh, I'm covering moves, or I'm trying to get into a breakaway or whatever, but there's a good chance that my race is over 20 minutes in, right? Like, I've totally burned myself, and now I'm just, like, rolling to the finish. And that doesn't actually work for the points distributions that we're, like, used to seeing in these kinds of races.
Yeah, I think you've got the added problem of our categories are pretty big compared to the pointy end of the spear you see in, the Grand Tours and the pros.
Yep.
Plus, you can't coordinate your steering like outdoors, right? Like, if someone leads off the front, you can kind of, like, coordinate to push in. But, like, in Zwift, if someone, like, rides onto that wheel, you never know who's going to end up second or third wheel or not. Who are you leading out is really, really tricky to control in Zwift.
It is, yeah. Chris Morales was the racer we were racing with in APAC. Yeah, I think that was the cassowary.
I think it opens up one opportunity in that, because I think it compresses the scores. Like, one of the problems in ZRL was always that, like, the differences were so broad, but now the scores are a little more compressed. I think the finishing points will be closer in general, but also with then playing 20 deep, there's more of a chance that you'll need to try and do something to, like, drag a guy back in or something like that to a sprint point, right? To maybe get in the top 20. Like, if a break happens in and around that 20th place, there may be an opportunity for you to go, all right, you got to go back and drag these two guys up, because we want to get them at least a chance to get 2 or 3 of these bonus points, or back into this group or whatever. Like, because those 4 or 5 points might matter in the standings, as opposed to, the old way. Well, we're never getting them back to the top 10. We're going to lose the group anyway. And,
yeah, because how big are these races? They're like 60, 70 people usually, right?
Yep.
And so, like, 20 points, that's the top third. Yeah, I hadn't thought of that ratio.
Yeah. And I mean, the big thing is reducing, not making that FTS worth 20 and, reducing that and making the increment less on the FAL points means that lead rider is not going to be getting, your first two riders aren't going to win the race for you, whether the rest of them finish or not.
Yeah.
You need them to finish, but you can, if you have two, overdog riders who get everything, then, in the old points, that meant your team won, whether your other four riders finished the last four positions or not.
Mhm.
I don't think that's going to be the case anymore. Not the way I add it up right now, anyway.
Cool. Do we want to talk about the rest of the races for the week?
Yes.
So, let's see. Steph, do you know
HBR.
what this week's HBR is?
For the people that have
Looks like we're on
just
Deuce
found.
France. Yeah.
So I was about to say, for the people who have done ZRL, know the route.
Go ahead, Steph.
Yeah, it's basically the classic in France. You start spans up first through the intestines, through bit flat section, aqueduct halfway, and then flat till the finish.
Yeah, and it looks like it's
basically flat.
one lap for the
One lap.
lowest and 2 laps for the higher categories.
Okay, thought it was one for all, but can be.
Oh, it could be one for all. Yeah.
2 laps is a long race for.
Sorry, I was on the wrong column. Yeah. So yeah, 24K, probably your fastest aero bike.
Yeah.
We've got Climber's Gambit is one of the combined rides this week. So we're on Mayan San Remo to do the Mayan KOM and Itza KOM, and it's your combined time that counts. So this is...
He's putting the spice in.
Yeah, it's a spicy one. I think in total will end up being about almost 6K of climbing, very rolling. I think that this might actually be one that a TT bike is the right way to go. Both of the climbs average under 3% or at or under 3%. So
yeah, I think only at the end of each set goes towards 10%, but that's
very
a small
short
section.
as a part of it. Yeah.
Section, so yeah, TT might be.
I know everybody's in the jungle. Everybody's just going to shout "nerd" at you if you're on a TT bike.
I am a nerd.
Yeah. We're all playing video games in our garage.
Yeah.
Bicycles.
No, maybe we'll avoid it, but will be interesting in terms of pacing wise. How you pace this, because basically between segments you have less than a minute or a couple of.
I was going to ask, like, I haven't really paid that much attention to the gap. Is there a gap, or do you just?
It's about a kilometer
barely.
or less. It's a half a kilometer to a kilometer, I think.
I thought it was you go through the banner and that's the start of the next one. I wasn't paying attention.
It's not that, but it's not. It's not much
more.
Yeah, I'm gonna be stopping and doing a bike change to a different TT bike.
Yeah,
just
so I can get an extra 30 seconds of rest in between.
Yeah, you're only cheating yourself, Chris would say. Only cheating yourself.
We will get to it in 2 weeks' time, but I'm definitely taking a small break between on week 4 between the segments.
My favorite thing about the post for the Climber's Gambit this week is, so on Chris's Climber's Gambit image for the back to school series, he says, it says no draft, time GC, whiskey tastings, daily nap times. And last week I asked him, so you're going to have whiskey pairings for each route? And this week he did add a whiskey pairing.
He did. It's quite good. Yes.
Yeah, so the whiskey pairing for this weekend is Abasolo Mexican whiskey, distilled from ancestral Cacahuacintle corn, which has been cultivated and passed down for centuries for more than 200 generations by local farmers in Mexico. Not too much of a stretch to speculate that there is at least some crossover between this particular crop and the Mayan civilization. History is delicious. So
Nice.
if you could get out and find some of that to have a shot of when you finish the climb, or maybe even as a drink in between the two climbs. Yeah.
Maybe this could be a future around the horn topic, but I didn't know whiskey was made from corn. I thought it was always a barley.
Oh,
Based
oh,
thing,
Canadian
but-
whiskey is made from rye. No, you are, yeah, you can make
Oh.
whiskey from lots of things.
Okay, well,
Yeah, when we've
here
got
we
Chris on
are
here,
teaching things on the Pink Tron.
when we got Chris on here, I'm sure we can get a full
Yeah, I would love it.
whiskey lesson.
It's always mystified me
Um,
because I thought you would make rye out of rye.
Well, so that's rye whiskey. So we call it rye in Canada, but
Oh, okay.
elsewhere it's apparently called Canadian whiskey.
Like Canadian bacon isn't really bacon.
Yeah. So in Canada, we don't call Canadian bacon bacon.
Exactly.
you call it a Caesar?
No, that's a different thing.
Yeah, I know. So the Stampede this week is going to be a lap of Bologna. Brent, you got
Ah,
some thoughts?
Yep. It's our world tour is in Italy this week, so it is Bologna. Steve Ike, probably, unless you're really, really at the bottom end of D and heavy, but yeah, go easier on the flatter bit, harder on the steeper bit.
And then bullseye on
one lap
Seaside.
being only the bottom to the top.
Correct.
not-
Yeah. So it finishes at the top of the climb. So 8K.
Okay, what about us? Okay.
Yep. And then bullseye on Seaside Sprint, as we talked about just a bit ago. Yeah.
yep. So 4 laps, 4 sprints. The lead-in sprint will count, and so 50 points each, 1 point per place the first 3 times through, and then 100 points, 2 points per place the finish.
Well, that's a nice one to begin with the downhill out of the S's until the bridge sprint. Yeah.
That's so much fun. Anyway, I love that finish. It's a blast.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It is
the
very,
moves.
very wrong and very, very right. So yeah.
It is one of the best, I think, finishes for a sprint.
Yep.
In the game. Which that's the week in herd racing.
Mountain, yeah. And mountain goats will be on a mountain route.
Somewhere. Yep.
Yeah.
So that'll bring us to our around the horn. I think that Craig may have just wanted to check in with us all. Craig, did you have thoughts on around the horn?
No, so I guess yeah, I've been off Zwift between getting ready for my move, the actual move, and now unpacking. And really there isn't a good BMX racing scene here in New Brunswick where I've moved to, so I
move
really
there?
wanted to take advantage of my last real season of it. So I haven't really been on Zwift since May. And yeah, I did my first ride on Zwift in the new house a couple days ago. We actually laid out a really nice spot in the house on purpose. So, right next to the air conditioner, there's windows, the computer's right behind it, got a nice TV on the wall right in front of the trainer, space for 2 trainers when we want. Anyway, yeah, it's we set it up pretty good here. Not that we bought the house with this in mind, but a really good space for it. And yeah, anyway, so that's good. And my big mission now is trying to figure out bike storage in the garage. So I think I'm going to have to document this mission because I think it's going to work out pretty good. I've ordered some pretty good stuff, and yeah, we'll see what it looks like.
I think we tried to figure it out last week, but did you come to a conclusion on how many bikes you've got there?
No. I can go through them quickly because I have 2 BMX race bikes or BMX park bike, dirt jumper, fat bike, my cyclocross bike. I've got a Madone, Bianchia Burden. I think that's it. I've got 8.
So you've got 8, and then the rest of the family probably has 3 or 4
each.
Oh, great.
And then there's the loaners for people who come to visit. You got to have
There
one of
might be a
those.
couple of those actually.
Nice.
So
I
yeah,
really
it's
need to come for a visit.
say again, Brent.
I said I really need to come for a visit then.
You do, yeah. We can head out to the pump track. You can catch some air, Brent. It'll be great.
I'm in.
Yeah, did we have anything else? Maybe Craig, have you tried out any of the new routes? Is there anything that you've been excited to get out on and try?
Honestly, the only thing I've really, caught is that, so I mean I've done the whole the flat perimeter road. The grade and the higher road I haven't done yet. So
Maybe hop in the
I'm
Climber's Gambit this weekend.
Sand Rainbow.
Probably not, but I might do HBR this weekend. I have not been doing anything sustained. Now I've been biking to work and going pretty hard, but it's only like 7K. So it's doing that most days has been not too bad. But yeah, I'm not in shape to race, the B races or front of the C like I was. So yeah, I might give the ACAT of HBR a go this weekend.
I have a question with TTT times.
Okay.
Did something happen that made them all go faster? Because I was looking at the times that we finished this France TTT compared to ZRL times from like a year or 2 ago, and they looked like 90 seconds faster.
So my first guess is that we're all on TT bikes now.
That's probably the biggest thing from older races.
Right.
Yeah.
And then the other thing is the new PD kind of has draft and a half or whatever compared to the old.
So depending on when that old TT that you were comparing to was, it's possible that you were on road bikes. But yeah, the new pack dynamics is faster in a bunch, or like could possibly be a bit faster in a bunch.
Yeah, I think the TT bikes is the solution. That 100% it would have been old enough to be on the old road bikes.
Yeah, Brent, did you actually ride this TT on your what bike was it?
The Atomic Cruiser. Yeah, no, I pen swapped it. It did cause some like confusion amongst a couple of the newer people. Like they're like, "What is that bike?" But
I had somebody at the end of our race ride by you or have you ride by them, and they went like, "Wait, Brent's on a cruiser." Yeah, so I think Brent's now got the I think it was all really for the photo, wasn't it? With
Oh yeah.
the fire socks and the yeah.
Yeah, the fire socks made the outfit for sure.
I did actually wear the fire socks for the TT. Like, you don't like I don't wear them in a race. I kind of think that gives it all away a bit, but I did 100% wear them in a TTT to try and, you know, get the last second fire burn up.
To encourage the others. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
we
ended up
don't we
finishing
don't
fifth actually.
we often give bike recommendations, but we don't give kit recommendations. Maybe that's a new addition for the Pink Tron. Whether or not to wear your fire socks or what else would be important.
Yeah, I mean you got to wear the Scotty Squirrel
Scotty the squirrel
hat
hat.
when you're going through any jungle areas or any,
Yeah.
you know, any forested areas.
I think when you're doing the TTT, you should either have backward hat or arrow helmet. Like, I don't know. I'm a bit fussy
Yeah.
that way.
The psychological advantage of the arrow helmet could really get you a couple seconds there.
The various color cycling caps are nice, though.
Yeah. I think it's really nice to be able to everybody have a different color hat so you know which color hat you're following.
I was on a team briefly that they were using socks as their distinguishing, and that just does not work for me. Like I can't
It
see
doesn't
people's
sound
socks.
sufficiently distinguishable.
No.
Follow the guy with the pink socks. I can't see his socks.
I can't see socks from like 2 or 3 people away.
Also, don't use fire socks when you want to attack with a ghost power up, because that doesn't work.
Oh, did they? It's
That's
still
amazing, though. That is amazing. I almost want to do that just for the effect, because the ghost never works anyway. But
Well, the last race in ZRL does have a ghost in it, and
I
it's the
mean,
new.
yeah, I call that one the DeLorean 88 power up, where you
Yes.
disappear but you leave a trail, a fiery trail behind you.
Yeah.
exactly. So
All
I
right.
guess I'll put myself out there as a free agent. Yeah, I'm in a weird time zone in Atlantic time, if anyone knows what that is outside of Canada. But yeah, if somebody's looking for someone and I don't even know what category I am, here I am. Probably C.
Probably C. Yeah, get out and do some races this week so that you get a new you get categorized in the new categories. And
Yeah. So I did a pretty good effort on Volcano. I mean, not an all-out effort, but I was sub 10 minutes without going hard, or overly hard. So I'm not in that bad a shape.
yeah. All right. Well, any of those C teams in, yeah, are you East? Would you be Eastern
American
or
East Coast,
European?
I'm
American.
east of Eastern.
Yeah. It'd be kind of late for the America's East times because those are at like 7:30 Eastern, so that'd be 8:30 for you.
Well, I mean, I raced America's
the map.
Best often when I was in Eastern time zone, so that's
Fair.
actually not that
Mhm.
bad.
What
Or
was about
early morning with the Aussies is always fun.
Yeah. Well,
What
I
was
do
about to say-
know that there are openings in the America's East Seas,
Woohoo!
as John could attest with
I don't know if we have openings. I feel like we have a full roster, but people just are of limited availability, it seems. But I'll check. Yeah, I'll check.
If
right
I'm
now.
needed, let me know.
yeah.
That'd be great.
No promises. I have no idea what my performance will be.
Probably really good for 30 seconds.
Almost definitely really good for 30 seconds. Well, maybe not 30 seconds. In a BMX race, there's a couple rests in that 30 seconds, man.
All right. I guess with that, I'd like to thank Steph Etienne, John Keenan, Brent Robinson and Craig Martin, and Moo, and we'll see you next week.
Move everybody.
Ooh.
Moo, moo.
No.